be like a use permit, and then like
We're here today, not voting today, right?
But we do want to tell us what the department is.
Okay, got the green light.
Okay. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for attending our trustee meeting on this June 23rd. We're going to call the meeting to order at 7:30. Would you please stand for a pledge to the flag and a short devotion? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we thank you that we could gather in this place. We just ask that we do what's best for the township residents in Osnaburg Township. Thank you for a great weekend with the festival. And we just ask that you watch over all of our staff and our township residents as they go forth with their duties. It's in your name. Amen. All right, changes to the agenda for this evening or additions.
I got none.
I don't have anything.
I need to call an executive session at the end of the meeting. No action to be taken. Personnel matters. Fiscal Officer Lowry, anything? We need to add Otarma, right? Add Otarma to
Yeah,
this.
the Tarma
Okay.
one, but
Old business.
if we can put that in, I had gotten that prepared for tonight, the Tarma liability insurance.
Okay.
And there is something else I forgot. I don't know what it is here at the last minute. It came in today.
All right. All right, wonderful. Okay. Approval of trustee meeting minutes for Tuesday, 6/9.
Trustee Pure moves.
Griffith seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Approval of treasurer's report, 6/10.
Trustee Griffith motions.
Pure second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Hi, come on in. Hi there. Thank you. Who's that? Yeah. Perfect, thank you. All right. We're gonna move on to public speaks. Today we're talking about the Succo's Park project. Is there anyone here that has a public speaks that's not regarding that? Anybody? Okay, we will move on. So I want to give a quick background of our Succo's Park project. And trustees, as I work through this, you can feel free to stop me or correct me if I'm out of line on some of this stuff, but just want to give a little background. So the Succo's family left in their will a piece of property in Osnaburg Township that they wanted to see built into a park. And so this was kind of a surprise to us, a very nice surprise. The family left around 50 acres and a fund to help build and maintain the said park. One of the tough parts about it,
That's when it started.
that's what it said,
First-
June 4th, 2020. Yep, June 4th of 2020. So one of the tougher parts about it, and this was really probably no fault of their own, the will was very vague. There's not a lot in it. It's a very vague will. So the bigger and the thicker the will is, the easier it is to make something like this happen. And so as far as leaving the land was left to build a park, and also there was an endowment fund with some savings account, and then also the sale of a couple properties, which the Huntington is the benefit, or not the benefactor, but the keeper of the fund. And I'll explain that in a second. Right now, there's 1.4 million in that fund as of this last report. So it's important to know as we're thinking about this park, the way this is set up is there is a bank that is kind of the trustee of the funds. And so they're the ones that are responsible for allowing us to spend money toward the park in the correct way. The trustees, whoever the elected officials are the ones making the decisions. The trust owns the property. So this is important because the trustees do not own the property. The trustees don't freely spend the money. So there's three entities: the bank, which agrees to how we spend, the trustees, which make the decisions, and then the property's owned in the trust, and that won't change. And so as we talk about this park and as we talk about what it looks like and if there's a pavilion and all these big ideas, we also have to realize that we have to insure it. Not super easy to insure when you don't own it. So that's something that we are talking about and looking into.
We do have a 99-year lease on it.
Yes.
So it's leased to us for 99 years. So everything we put into it will be ours for 99 years. So.
But that is for grant purposes, and that's for, we don't still physically own it because our insurance here at the township, the liability insurance does not cover it. So the Huntington Bank insurance, liability insurance covers like somebody walking on a property or something like that. But if we add equipment or we add things there, we have to look at outside insurance because our ATARMA covers the liabilities here, does not cover that at the present time.
And something else that we need to look at when we're talking about this, and then we're going to talk about some of the designs here in a second. We also have to look at the sustainability and what our budget is. If you've been around parks, you'll know that they're very expensive. Parks are very expensive. Go ask some bigger municipalities like Jackson Township on what they spend on their parks. And so we have to be careful. 50 acres sounds exciting, but we also have to be able to maintain it in the long term. So that's something else that we're looking at as well. So I'm going to give the floor over to Ms. Griffith to talk about the grant and the project before us.
So to kick this off, we applied for a grant from the state of Ohio. We applied for $400,000 and they awarded us $150,000. So we're happy to get $150,000, but it's not a whole lot to get started with. So we have put out what we call a project where companies can bid on it. And then eventually we choose one and then they'll build. And that's where we're at now. We put that out for bid. 6 companies were interested and gathered all the information, but only 2 companies met the deadline. So we have those 2 companies here tonight to show you what they have because we're not designers. So you do not want us to go design a park for you because we're not in that business. But we are in the business of watching the money that we have. So this first phase, and we cut it off at $150,000 on phase 1 so that we can clean the state, bid up with the state, the grant, and get it out of the way. It's not a whole $150,000. We thought great, but they're requiring us to pay prevailing wage to anyone working on the park. So that $150,000 is going to go pretty fast. Once that's done and the state's out of it, then we can do some other activities. We have a lot of local contractors that are willing to donate. We're hoping to get a lot of blacktop chippings and some things like that to help with. But so we initiated a phase 1, which is a small phase to get the park open and get the first little park put in. So we do have 2 contractors with us tonight, and we have presentations. If you haven't had a chance to look, there's maps laying up here. They're large maps, so you can look, take a picture if you want, but you can't take them. And any questions at this point? If not, I think I'm going to let EnviroScapes is here as a first bidder. Yes.
When you guys do the online stuff, we can't see any of this stuff when you guys are looking at stuff.
Right.
Oh, when you're at home watching, yeah.
So there's been times you guys talked about things that
Yeah, you can't, right.
you can't see
Can't see
anything we're
it.
talking about.
Yeah.
So
That's-
just so you guys are.
that's
aware.
about-
We were aware of that. That's above my IT stuff. Because you can see we have 2 screens. We have a screen here that we can pop things up and show everyone in the
Yeah.
room. The screen you see above you
Right,
is
it's
our
not
live
facing
stream.
the right way.
So
We're
I
not
don't-
able to get that on there.
Yeah, I
But
can't,
that's something we can look to.
But if there's an
I didn't
we
think you were aware of it.
we can always
Yeah.
get you copies of any of this stuff. Anything
Yep.
you can email and I'll make sure you get it.
And just as a point of reference, back to the original trust, So they asked to build a park, they left money and land, they asked for it to be named the Sucos Park. So that's stuff that we know. Outside of that, why you're here tonight, and thank you for being here, is we want community buy-in, and we want to hear what you have to say. We've talked about putting together a committee, and so anyone that may be here tonight that would like to sit on that committee, outside of the trustees, we'd like to have buy-in from the community, because that's very important.
Well, and I will also add that all three of us are business people. And so we actually, the two contractors that applied, we've all had relationships with both of them. And so we're sitting here, is this a conflict of interest for us? Because we have to vote on this. But if we don't vote, it can't happen. So our asking the public to come in, and we want you to tell us which one you like the best, because we don't want to have this conflict of interest. I don't want anyone to think we're picking one contractor over another because of a private relationship that we might have.
And so the way this works tonight is we're going to hear from both groups, talk about some ideas, some concepts. We do not vote tonight. The vote actually happens in the next meeting. This is more of a conversation
And to
piece.
gather all your input. We
Yes.
want your input.
July 14th.
So with that, why don't we go ahead and let Enviroscape start theirs? And Reed, are you, there he is. Just introduce yourselves.
My name is Reed. I'm an estimator at Enviroscapes. This is Jen, our sales manager. We're both going to give you a little bit of a presentation. I want to keep it kind of brief because mostly I'd like to hear questions from everybody. And I can leave some business cards with the trustees' permissions. If anybody would like copies of the design concepts or information that we put together, we'd be happy to forward it to you. Of course, with your
And we
permission.
can pull up what, Brian, don't we have what they submitted electronically?
Yeah, I can.
We
I
can pull that up
it
too for them to
It
see.
just depends, I was talking to him earlier, I don't know what all he might want that I can grab here.
Sure,
I'm not good on your thumb drive you have there, so
no problem.
I'll do the best I can.
That's quite all right. And I have some notes that we put together for the presentation. So, to me, there's three really important things to make this a successful project. Number one is the sign. When I see something like Varian Orchards or the Twisted Olive, I see a beautiful sign and an entrance that intrigues me. It makes me want to go in. And I think that's important to getting good attendance and buy-in from people that want to invest in the park, be it volunteering or helping with donations. That's a very critical part to it. We've recently been working with Pulte Homes on some projects, and I took from them what they've invested in designs and budgets for the signs and came up with what I thought was a good plan for a starting point. Now, ultimately, we would leave final approval of the design for the sign up to trustees and the community. We're happy to work on that, but we have provided some concepts for the sign. And we have some pictures up here we'd be glad to share with you on that. The second really important part is infrastructure. You need roads to get into. You need parking places. So phase one would provide about 26,000 square feet of a road and about 24 parking places. That would get expanded in a phase two if approved. We've also put together some ideas for walking paths, wildflower or native grass fields. And I think those are very important because that's the reason. So first, we've intrigued people to come in. Now we've given you a place to park and be able to access the park. Thirdly is the reason. And Jen will talk to you a little bit about those.
Yeah, so for us, a park, while our mission at Enviroscape is always to build things that are a confluence of beauty and function and obviously budgetary pragmatism. And while we could just build you a park and look at those black and white lines and take it and turn it into something 3D, which in and of itself is kind of an amazing and miraculous thing when you think about it, we see this as a gift because it is a gift to your community. And when you have something as precious as a gift, we see this as an investment towards beauty and legacy. And an investment in beauty and legacy, in my mind, is the most bold and courageous declaration of hope in and for the next generation. So a lot of the designs and concepts that we came up with are a focus on what can we do to enhance this community with form, function, and budgetary purposes in mind. So if you can imagine a meandering path through with vibrant colors and pockets of hairy grass that inspire the most curious little mind to stop and admire the lunacy and to delight in it. We see it as an opportunity for what some people call a selah, a pause in the presence of something bigger than yourself. It's an opportunity for reflection and connection. And that's something that we really want to honor in this park project. Of course, with obviously the budgetary constraints and an emphasis on long-term maintenance. We have a huge maintenance department, so we're very familiar with the struggles of what maintenance looks like for parks. So these concepts are with maintenance in mind, with beauty and investment in mind, and something that will be beneficial for the community.
Thank you.
Great. Before we go to questions, I want to take a second and explain just a little more as we kind of work through this. So we've kind of put this in a 3-part stage, which it could be more than 3 parts. But the original bid pack that went out, and the public might not know this, but the original bid pack that went out was to try to stay in that $150,000 range and to get a sign up, get a driveway in, get some parking, and some sort of element, like we said, walking paths for those to come to the park to have something to do. We don't want to just put a sign up and put a parking lot in and have nothing to do. And so that might not work. And so just so you're aware, as we kind of talk about this and some of the paperwork up here, and I think it's valid for us to let the public take a look at these a little closer, and we'll do that here in a minute. But just as we talk about this, the whole idea was to bid the first section at around that $150,000 mark to use the grant. And we do have other funds to spend, but we're trying to look at, big picture, get more community buy-in. We don't want to build this thing and no one show up because we didn't have the community touch on it. So,
and I do want to say that we have agreed and voted to partner with Rotary, and Ben Parker, who's sitting there, is leading the Rotary. And he's also the one that's chairing that community group. So if you're interested, want to get on that group with him to help with which way we're going. Partnering with Rotary allow us to apply for some other grant opportunities and some additional things like that.
And they also have to understand that 1.4 million is there for us to fix things. We can't spend that down to nothing because there's no revenue. Once it's gone, it's gone. So it's not just going to be a money pool to go build with.
Huntington Bank controls how much money we can pull out of that trust at a time. So we're allowed to ask for money, but they control yes or no.
It's vested, so it generates a return every year, and that is
that's good.
a lot of what you can use. But I mean, it's not to go build a phase with, or we will have nothing.
So I wanted to put that in, but I'll go right back to you in a second. Thank you.
Well, love to hear some questions, some comments, and feedback.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if the majority of you guys are all business people, flowers don't create revenue. So has there been any kind of discussions as to, like, for instance, like Beach Creek or whatever it is, that's a business that is generating not only traffic, but it's also creating income to help keep the business rolling. So what kind of discussions have there been? I mean, this is pretty and it's gorgeous, but
Yeah.
it doesn't pay the bills.
This is
Yeah.
just to look. We're so premature that's a possibility. We're just so early. We're just trying to get our foot in the
And
door.
that's a great question. And I think to maybe respond to that, and this is just on the insurance side, so maybe this is valid. So insurance says if you build a pavilion and you give it for free, you don't have to insure it heavily. If you start charging, the insurance changes completely because you're paying for the right and then someone gets hurt. And so we've talked about that. What's it look like if we rent the pavilion out? Or what's it look like if we, obviously pie in the sky, let's put in a community pool and a splash pad. Okay, well, we would never have the funds for that unless some huge donor dropped a bunch of money in our lap to be able to fund that. But it's a great question. Like, what is the renewable resource to this space? And then something else that we've talked about, not to muddy the waters, but I think it's important as we talk. Worley Park, which is managed by the village and the Sucos piece of property is actually fairly close
Just a couple
to each other.
hundred
Um,
yards
and we've-
separate the corner of the.
We've had some conversation on what if we tied those two together? Now we have to get easement through other people's property, like that may not be possible. But that's been kind of thrown up there too. What if you could park at Worley and walk the path at Sucos and then come back to the ball fields, things like that? That's a great question. Like what can we do that's renewable or, something that's going to actually generate income? But I agree with Randy. We're very early.
The phase one is it's right out in the front. So I mean, we're not saying that this is what the whole thing's going to be. The sky's the limit. I mean, it's what can be done.
Yeah.
Nothing's getting decided on that now is what I'm, that's what we got you guys here to get input, to get in the direction.
So the other thing I would say is because it's managed by the trustees, we're a government entity, we have to do what the government rules apply to us. And one of those is if we have an organized event in the park, then we have to have an AED there while that event's taking place. And it can only be either township employees or people who we personally have trained on AED. It gets really complicated. And the state keeps passing new rules all the time. So we do have to abide by those too.
So for Enviroscapes, do you plan on blacktopping all of the spaces we see? Is that the plan, or is it going to be in cinder? What do you guys plan for the surface of the parking lot?
Those would be asphalt grindings. So
Okay.
the initial plan, and that gives you flexibility down the road. You can improve it as you see fit
Okay.
for different services. But that would give you your basic infrastructure to get people in, to get parking. That does include striping for parking spaces, directional arrows.
What's the walking track service?
Those would be mobile turf. And the concept is to define those paths with a custom blend of seed mixes. Now that gets into another discussion because we can do wildflowers, but it's much more maintenance heavy.
Mm-hmm.
They're beautiful and vibrant, but there's about a 3-year period of heavy maintenance to keep the competition of other weeds out so that you develop all the beautiful cone flowers and other things that you see in that spot. The alternative is to use some native or ornamental grasses. Those are very much lower. Those are lower on maintenance.
I thought that we were looking for crushed concrete or crushed limestone on that path.
We can, it's just exceeds the budget. It's much more costly. You can get a lot more on the paths with the mobile curve.
Okay.
Well, I think we wanted that because in our two track coaches are here, cross-country coaches. I thought a running surface, part of the reason we wanted to have all the trails is because the cross-country team and track team, they run on the road. This would give them an option to come up and run here without running on the road. But I believe there's a certain surface they need to run on. Is that correct?
What do you envision the surface to be again?
A turf, basically a mobile finished turf. And we did provide an alternative pricing for crushed limestone.
So is there a preference on that? Hey, aren't you state coach of the year multiple times?
The thought behind the mobile turf is you get a lot more coverage. Again, as you develop the park, you could change, but in these initial stages, trying to use the funds that you have to get the most out of it that you can, trying to cover these different bases.
How does mobile turf work in spring and fall and wetter seasons for handicapped people?
Well, it could get muddy in some spots. That's very true.
Is this stuff we have to mow then?
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be a good mode. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are welcome to ask questions.
I had a question. Where will the parking lot go? Where is the parking
Sure.
lot to go?
Yeah, actually, if you want to hold that would be
Yeah.
beneficial to hold that up.
So phase one, and there are drawings here that are phased. So our initial road comes in off Broadway and by the existing garage building. Sure. So the first parking lot will be adjacent to the existing garage structure. Phase two would extend another parking lot on the south part of the property and would extend this road back to the east part where a trail would be developed on the perimeter of the farm field.
do any of the phases include, like, will you guys be putting like bathrooms or running water? The park is, or is that
That's-
like way
We do
down?
not
in the
have
future.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I would think,
It would be in the future.
I would think if other donors get involved, yes, but with the budget we currently have, probably not.
Not at this time.
We probably definitely would have to put porta johns there if we're opening it up.
And I
but for
would,
now.
I would venture a guess that the building that's standing would need a lot of work to be to code. You know, we're talking a
And
decent,
then, I guess on a personal level, we're the house
yes,
that sits right there. And
you're the neighbor to that parking lot.
yes, we're the neighbor. So I guess my concern is with the easement that we share,
Mhm.
and I don't know how that where that conversation needs to take place.
Right.
But that is like obviously a personal concern of ours, because
Sure.
we don't want to lose any of our property
Right.
to this, but we also don't want to share our easement necessarily with the public.
Understood.
Like, we understand that you guys
Correct.
need access to
Understood.
it, but
Yeah.
we don't want to
Yeah.
grant
So-
access to the public. to
None
use
of our
that.
plans are using that easement.
That driveway was only for our personal use, and actually, that side of the property is going to have a fence of some sort put up that comes down to the corner of the house, because we don't want people to walk that way.
And that was a concern of ours too,
Mhm.
because you're used, when you have a neighbor, you can
Sure.
develop a relationship, but when you open to the public, you can't make a relationship with every person that lives on
Absolutely.
that
You
piece of
know,
property, so
and
that was a
people-
concern.
They don't abide by where they're supposed to go anyway,
Right.
Yeah.
so
Well-
along there, we were gonna put some type of fence from there down to that.
And if you, is the blue on that one, yeah. So, yeah, if you want to turn that back to the public. So where the shaded area is, when it goes dotted blue lines, it goes back to that property line, well past your property. But then there's another house back there
Yes.
that's very close too. So
Yeah,
we
and
need
they
to
have a
be,
pond.
we need to be good to our neighbors. That's right. So the idea is to use that road to get back to the 50 acres, the big chunk. And so that's part of that easement road, but it would be beyond that would be on your property. But again, we've got other folks.
I don't think that's an easement.
Oh, is that not the easement? Is it in?
That's on ours.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
on
Yeah, because our
the-
easement stops like,
Okay.
By the
Right.
house.
Yeah.
Got it. It doesn't go all the way back.
And it's,
Gotcha.
and for people, it's a
Gotcha.
oval lane. That's an existing oval lane that's there.
And it's hard, guys, because there is a lot of property and there's a lot of great ideas. You know, I'd love to put up 15 ball fields and let every little league kid play, but like, again, there's maintenance to this. There's, you know, that cornfield is being planted. That's a big piece of property. If you go stand on the corner, it's a big chunk. So we're trying to like really put together the ideas and the concepts as we kind of work forward. So
As you're building the roads and parking areas, it's gonna develop a lot of spoils, a lot of soil that we can use to make mounds, to help build some privacy on that corner there.
The culvert pipe that runs across that road that goes back there now,
Yes,
will you replacing that?
we have a provision for culvert pipe underneath the initial drive that comes in onto it.
Oh, I thought back further.
That would be in
Yeah.
phase two, and actually.
that's off the wetland back there.
Yeah, again, we're abiding by governmental rules. We have to meet with soil and water there, and we're in the current process. We have to have an attorney firm and environmental company come in and do a review of the whole property and tell us what we need to do where, and what we can't do where, say. But that, all of that would be mostly involved in phase 2 or 3, because that's down. Up in the top, up there, there's no wetland. Up on the top where the hill, where that, and that's really phase 1's gonna be up there on top.
is the fence included in phase 1 once
Yes.
the park starts being utilized?
So as Reed was saying, we talked about some of that topsoil that's being moved for the parking lot to form barriers, natural hill barriers, so that they're not really seeing over. And also along Broadway, we don't really want kids running
Yeah,
out
we
on
have to-
Broadway.
Also realize that that's a pretty busy road.
Yeah.
And right now, it's just culvert and road. So if you're, it's probably a quick run for a 5-year-old. So
I
we need
can't
to-
tell you what type of fence,
Yeah.
but we all agreed we want a fence from the road
Mhm.
on the side towards the park, which leaves us going in on the opposite side of that fence, which would be your side when it's just the township using it to the house.
So I think it's always a valid question to ask when you're in a presentation like this. If you were awarded this, what's your timeline? How far out is Enviroscapes right now?
We're prepared to meet the schedule that was
Okay.
the outline.
Well, with environmental study, we're still getting delayed on that. It may be a later start date.
Would that be on our end?
That's quite all right. Yes.
Okay.
We want to comply. We typically use ODOT as a guideline for things like planting, seeding, and construction. So a lot of these things would be weather dependent. We don't want to force something if adverse weather conditions are going to negatively affect the outcome.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions for Bioscapes, anybody?
What is the projected start date then?
Well, we wanted to start August 1st, but I don't know that we're gonna make that. It might get pushed back a little bit. And that would just be that phase 1.
Right.
And then we still have farmers farming the rest of it to help keep the growth down until we get to,
And that is a renewable resource. They pay for that, actually.
Yeah.
So they pay a lease to farm that land.
And they're farming the backfield and the side field right now,
Yeah.
presently, right?
Yeah, the front field will quit being farmed.
yeah, there's nothing in that front.
Yeah, the front field they didn't replant, I don't believe.
We do have that scheduled to have it brush hogged down though, out of, along Broadway where you
Yeah.
see it growed
Yeah,
up.
that'll be brush hogged. Okay, any other questions?
You mentioned the maintenance cost for the flowers or grasses or whatever. What is the anticipated annual maintenance cost for that?
It depends on what direction you go. It could be as little as a few thousand for brush hogging and mowing seasonally as required for the different plant life, or it could grow intensely. If you wanted to do a full-on wildflower garden like you see in these pictures, it could be $10,000 to $20,000 a year per year for the first 3 years. Now, as that material gets established and begins to choke out the other weeds, that will go away. But that initial cost is there. The way to get around that could be with volunteers.
That's physical people weeding it and feeding it.
Yeah,
That's correct. So
yeah, that's
typically,
the labor side of it, yeah, sure.
yes, there's some specialized equipment.
Mhm.
Most commonly used is an herbicide applicator that has like a cloth that wicks up the herbicide. You can touch that to the plants that need taken care of. So the material cost is very low to this. It takes very little product, but it is labor intensive.
Okay.
So the other route is to do a combination. You could do more of the grassy areas and do some small pockets of the wildflowers. We're happy to work with you on that.
So can I ask you, is there any type of warranty on any of this? And what does that entail?
Yes, we typically abide by a 12-month warranty. That's going to be standard to any public project like this.
12
Great.
months for trees, shrubs, 6
Okay.
months for your smaller perennials, and
Okay.
then 1 month for annuals, but there would be no annuals in this.
Yeah, what about the trail and the pathway, if there's problems with that?
Again, we would definitely warranty our workmanship for that 12-month period.
Okay.
Other questions are, it looks like there's a lot of the trees that are there right now. The plan is to remove a lot of those trees, and it looks like you're kind of replanting them, but that was maybe only phase 3 is what I saw. Is that accurate?
No, we are not planning to remove any trees in this. I apologize for not planting those in on the drawings. But yes, in phase 3, we would like to include some new tree plantings. Part of that's privacy for the neighbors. Part of that's because I think that shade trees are very critical to having a beautiful park like
On a
Adams.
day like today.
Yeah. I mean,
If you weren't standing in the shade, you were sweating.
if you have a nice shady backyard, you can feel the temperature difference as you walk back there. So
Yeah.
that's-
Okay.
The roadway and the parking lot, you're using asphalt grindings. Are you gonna coat that with something, or is that just rolled in with no coating, or?
Rolled in with no coating. So we would excavate, do a geotextile fabric, apply about 12 inches of that material, compact it in less as needed. And we like to use a sheep's foot and a smooth drum roller in combination to get better compaction. Because you want that smooth surface, you don't want the
Right.
stuff constantly.
But you're not planting any binder on top.
And I think when we're talking about parking lot, I think this is valid to talk about now. If we're talking about a dawn to dusk park, and I think that we haven't done a bunch of research on this, but being that you guys are the neighbors, if I were the neighbor, I probably wouldn't want a bunch of telephone, a bunch of poles with a bunch of light. So we have to look at what that looks like. Are there LEDs? Do they turn off? Do they turn on? Do we not have to light the parking lot because it's dawn to dusk, or am I missing a complete rule in the world of rules and we have to?
That's a good question.
So I think it's a valid question, and I think it's going to be really, we're going to try to be good neighbors if we can. If the neighbor says, I love lights because I know nothing's going down over there, or no, I don't want light in my eyes. So that's something that we've talked about and we need to look into.
Or a gate.
Yeah,
that you should-
yeah, we've talked
Oh, it
about,
will be gated.
we've talked about a gate that closes. There's a lot of technology anymore. if you walk into a lot of newer builds, the bathrooms lock automatically anymore.
Are
You know,
going-
guys aren't going around and locking park bathrooms anymore. They're locking panic hardware on the inside.
Unless we get someone we know to walk over and we could pay them to close the gate.
Yeah, right.
We
Gate-
do want to have
it's
the
the gate
gate
time.
shut.
Yeah.
And eventually, if we get the house in repair where someone can live there, we find the right person. We thought about finding someone who'd like to live there and just pay the utilities and then be the security for the property. Because you know there's going to be people come in other ways and get on the property.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. for
Anything
your
else?
time.
Thank you. Awesome. If you don't mind leaving that up here, I think once we, great.
And if you just hang around, they might have a question after they.
Yeah, if you don't mind hanging for a bit, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you.
I have one last quick
Sure.
question for you guys. What's your guys' track record for building parks? Just out of curiosity,
There's a pretty long list on the proposal.
is there?
This year, we've done some work at Tappan Lake. We did some entrance amenities, and it's actually a very similar project. There's walking paths, wildflower area, rain gardens, tree plantings, a lot of the components that you see here. We recently did the plantings at East Palestine Park. Princeton Green Space in Youngstown, that's another similar park with tree plantings, walking paths. We're most known for work at the Hall of Fame. That was a large design build project for us. Columbiana, the Firestone Park. I have to refer to the list.
Kind of the valley, we've done a lot, yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Parker.
Mr. Louder, well, I'm playing on the TV, so people can see it while I talk. I'm waiting on him. My name's Andrew Parker. I'm a local, a lot of people know around here, went to school in East Canton. When I seen this come across the bid, I was pretty excited because I have 4 kids and a wife, and she lives on Berlin Lake, and was like, Canfield, all I hear about is there's nothing to do here. So I was pretty excited about this opportunity when it came about. And, you know, we farm, we're outdoorsmen, we're into that, we like the nature side of things. And when we heard a farm might be getting turned into a park, we wanted to be a part of it to try to avoid the natural getting taken out of it. So me and an architect, and the architect actually is one that helped design the Corey Golf Course, and I work with him on many golf courses all around Ohio now. Trying to come up with a plan. First in phase 1, if you see this red walking trail in this parking lot, will be done in phase 1. And all these green areas with the circles drawn, that's all mounding. So when we start excavating, there's gonna be a lot of topsoil to remove. As a farmer, we do not like removing topsoil from property. So we will stack it up and mound it all across the property to kind of make the trail wrap and twist around. And we'll have a mound the whole way along the property line, along the road, and along the neighboring field to try to keep everybody within the property and keep their attention on the walking trails. When we got into phase 2 and phase 3, the ideas could go endless. And we really wanted to leave it open so as the public fed into it over the next year or 2, we can kind of make the park fit the community versus trying to make the park perfect right off the rip. I work with a lot of really great local contractors. As soon as I showed them this, started talking to them, a lot of people started talking about, you know, wanting to be a part of it. So I think once we get phase 1 done and we get this 1,500 feet of walking trail done in this parking lot, so it gives people something to see right off the go, I'll be able to get a lot more interest from some of our larger local companies. The walking trails will be the 617 crushed limestone. The parking lot will be the asphalt millings with McIntosh is going to spray a binding agent on them. We were not going to strike the parking lot right at first due to the fact of phase 2, when we're bringing in detached trailers and equipment, we're just going to tear it up. So I hate to put something down and tear it up and redo it. And then as far as our seed and stuff, as an outdoorsman, like if I'm walking down a walking trail and you can kind of see how it goes around the field, you don't want to see the whole thing the way you're walking. We want mounds hiding it. And we were going to do crimson clover and all kinds of different clover. If you want deer, rabbits, you want wildlife to be there. And my wife's also a photographer, and she drives Magnolia and drives all these other parks to take pictures because there's nothing here to suit what everybody wants. So I took a lot of her info and tried to incorporate it. Now you can see we proposed pond. Now it all depends on soil type, budget, insurance. A lot goes into that. But we'd like to, in phase 2, come around the backside, avoiding the septic system of behind the parking lot, and then coming down the road and putting a second parking lot back here to phase 2. The phase 2 walking trail, we're really trying to focus on, when we talk about the cross country, when we drive down the road, you see these young kids running down the side of 44 Orchard being like, this is horrible. So we're trying to get as much surface footage as we can for them to run. So if we're able to achieve this bottom area, it's in debate depending on environmental study. If they call it all wetlands, we can't disturb it. There's nothing we can do. So we lose that little bit, which is like 13 to 1,400 feet of walking trail. But back here, I think it was at 5,800 feet, we're making it zigzag and wrap around mounds. So that gives the cross-country team plenty of area to practice, maybe hold beats. Same thing, the 617 back there. And that's kind of our goal with it, just keep it natural and then try to basically, it's very vague because we want the community to fill in their information. We want the rural towns, we want everybody to put in what their ideas are to try to make it fit everybody. So it's not just like, oh, that's great, but we have that next door, we can go here. So that's our proposal, and I guess any questions now?
How much parking would that be?
Up here, we're proposed 70 plus parking spots. The only problem is the septic might interfere here, so we might drop down only 50 parking spots.
What about the back one?
That'd be another 50.
We don't know where the septic tank is.
So
We gotta find it.
that's an issue there.
I'll ask the same question, Mr. Parker. Would you, if you were awarded, is there a timeline issue, or would you be able to get it done in the timeline allotted?
We can get done in the timeline if the weather is nice to us for a little longer.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you.
You say your walking trails, crushed limestone?
Yeah, 617 and resourced out of, unfortunately, I couldn't go somewhere local because their price was astronomically more. So we're getting it out of East Fairfield Coal Company, which is way cheaper, and they can truck it here for way cheaper than I can buy it anywhere local.
What's
So that
the,
helps with
what's the width of that trail?
9 feet.
9 feet.
Yeah, I guess I left it out. So I wanted it 9 feet wide because maintenance, we're talking about maintenance. I want to do all the natural clover and the no-mow grasses because we don't have enough people to maintain this. So we want 9 foot wide trails. So our township employees can run down and get a tree cut up off of it. We're doing 6 inches of 1 to 2 space under even the walking trails, just so they don't tear the track up no matter what time of year they're on it.
How much was that base?
Huh?
How much is the base? The depth of it?
6 inches.
6 inches.
Yeah, crushed 1s and 2s,
Okay.
crushed concrete. So we want to have in paramedics, if there ever is an issue, we want to give them the quickest access so they can run right down the walking trails with hopefully no issues of driving off the side. That's why we wanted to go with 9 feet. Because 8 feet's just very narrow when you're trying to get around it.
So I'll ask you, what kind of warranty do you have on your work?
All the seeding stuff, 6 months, and then the walking trail, I'll do a year because it's pretty solid. We're gonna do fabric matting under that as well,
Okay.
which should be listed in the itemized list.
Mr. Parker.
Yep.
How do you maintain crushed limestone?
So actually way easier than you could think. So I did a work at a golf course up north, kind of where I come on to this, called Avon Oaks Country Club. So all these other golf courses, they got concrete or asphalt, cart path. Well, for me to go in there with dozers and hose and try to work in these golf courses, it's miserable because we're throwing tires, boards, trying to get across them. Well, they have all this crushed limestone, and the same thing they used to drag the bunks out, they're running their walking trails around, dragging them out quick and efficient. So you can even have like a drag on a full lift. And I thought that was made it nice for what I had to do because we was able to get in and out, do our work, and they cleaned it up half a day after we spent a month there tearing the place up. So that's why I've been trying to turn other golf courses around here that route because the tree roots get under asphalt, pop it up, trip hazard, concrete, it all falls apart, and concrete is just nowhere near possible in the budget, of course. So, and that's easy for the township to put 5 tons on, in the spring to go fix up maybe a spot that washed out in some hard rain for some reason. So it makes it very easy for them to maintain.
And the kids can run on it?
Yeah, it's like, I'll explain, it's real small. Like the biggest piece would be like 3/4 of an inch around, but most of it's all real fine shavings. And then once it's compacted, it's solid.
Where do you get that?
East Fairfield Coal Company up by Youngstown. It's the darker gray color limestone. Yep.
How thick is the blacktop then on the parking lot?
So you're gonna have 8 inches of 1s and 2s crushed concrete base.
Oh, on the parking lot too?
Yep,
Okay.
and then you'll do the 4 inches of asphalt millings topping it.
And this is just kind of a comment for both presentations. And you probably are kind of noticing our theme here. If we create this phase 2 and we go around the perimeter of this property,
Yep.
Both groups that presented today have seen there's low-lying areas, there's valleys that run down through this field that make a lot of sense for water, maybe a pond, things
Yep.
like that. But really the goal, I think, of the trustees and really with the community buy-in, if it's your goal too, is to keep a good chunk of this tilled and farmed. And as we grow, I just ran into someone from East Canton councilman just stopped me at the festival and said, I have somebody that wants to build 6 baseball fields and I got to find a place for it. Well, great, but that's a long-term thing. We got to be able to figure it out. And so if the park grows in different corners and we add another parking lot, we add different things and we talk about a playground and we talk about low ropes course, I mean, whatever we talk about, our goal is to continue to keep the body of that tilled and in crop as long as we can. Because it does us no good to just let it go. And then in a few years, we're like, now we're going to build something. So that's kind of why you're seeing this perimeter concept with both teams today here. Because the goal is to try to not to tear up. We don't want to tear up if we don't have to. So that's just a point of reference.
And the question about your culvert, when me and the architect was walking that, that's already been upgraded to plastic. The one down below, it's coming through. I went and peeked through it. All the pretty. When I looked, it was raining that day, of course.
It is, but there's gonna need some work on it.
Yeah.
Shore things up, I guess.
Yeah.
Or
Well, I'll have to get wide.
extend.
It's not wide enough because we're gonna do 20-foot wide road.
And again, the property line is really.
Yeah,
close.
really. So like that's why like here we're jumping around you because you guys don't have that lane.
Yeah.
You can see that right on the auditor's map. So that's why we're jumping around here, and we want to keep people away. And then the property line walks back away, but it is tight. We have to push it this way, but that's all coming down to the environmental study and what they'll allow.
Well, and another thing to note, if you see the kind of the middle, right before it enters into the big body, if you walk the property, yes, right there, right where the cursor is, on the far left, closest to the north property line, that's the natural road that comes up to that opening, and the other part's a drop off. It's real deep. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to go there, but that's just what was natural. So
It's what was left. to
right.
go.
So phase 2 is like, we don't want to be as close to the property line as this shows. Let's move it. Let's give us some room. We may have to move some earth, but that's not like it's undoable. It was just kind of the natural road to that chunk. So
Is he interested in why that's like that?
can you tell us?
They pulled bank run off there. Joe Succo sold all the topsoil off everything
Okay.
and pulled bank run out of that corner
Okay.
and was selling it to whoever. So
Okay.
I heard
That's why it's dug in.
Yeah, I heard that. I
Yeah.
didn't know how true.
there is no topsoil on my land because of Joe.
So you can-
So
You got a rock backyard because of Joe.
I will tell you that when we first talked about it, when we call it a park, it's not going to be a park like Worley Park. We want it to represent our township, and it's rural and it's agricultural and things like that. So we weren't looking for playground equipment, like playground. We were talking more like maybe some Ninja Warrior type things. And Ben has come up with some really good ideas so far.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about and having ideas is as you get to phase 2 and 3, how can it be something that is unique that's going to change the character of the community in the sense of connecting the past of where we are from agricultural to the present and being able to, as we think of 30 coming through and bypassing East Canton and what that means for the local businesses around here, how can we have a place that can help be able to attract some other eateries, some other things like that? How can we have something that, like I think Beach Creek was mentioned, like have the types of things that are at Beach Creek that is natural, that can be used for education, that can be used for learning and giving a chance for kids who may not have things like creeks or ponds or something to go and get their hands wet as opposed to the splash pad like you would see at North Canton or whatever.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to make one comment, because I know, Ben, you're leading the community group, and I'm pretty sure they're watching online, but Elaine was an animal advocate, and part of her estate was given to the Stark County Humane Society. And I believe she probably had 15 cats, maybe. But she loved animals. So I think it's important that whoever's on that committee, that they respect that, and somehow incorporate her love for animals. And, you know, hopefully if you're watching online, I know they walk by the house a lot. They're hoping that you guys incorporate, whether it be a dog park or something in her memory, because she gave a very large portion to animals.
And that's exactly what we want to hear. That's perfect.
And you can verify that.
That's exactly what we want to
So I
hear.
know they're watching
I had no
online.
idea she had
Hopefully they
15
speak up.
cats, bless her.
But she gave even more
Yes, that's
to
exactly what we're.
her love for
And we
animals.
want the sign, absolutely, that's perfect, that's great. Keep that stuff coming, because I didn't know that.
I see Ben writing that down.
Ben's writing that.
Her cousin is still alive, so if anybody would like to speak to them, you know, obviously they knew her.
Yeah.
You guys lived beside her, so you knew her too.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think if someone donates something like this, it's important. You know, blueprints are great and township is great, but I think
Reflecting
there
where it
should be
came from.
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
She loved animals,
Yeah.
so.
Great. Well, and I'm stealing Ben's, this was all Ben's idea, and I think it's a really great one. Well, we chatted about, you know, Umbrella Alley. I don't think Louisville had any idea what that was gonna be, and people now travel to see umbrellas hanging from wires, who'd have thought? But people do. They come to Louisville to see Umbrella Alley. And Ben brought to us a presentation of just kind of a large tower of multiple climbers and with a big sunflower on the top, and said, hey, what if the sunflower theme and now animal theme, like we could incorporate something together to have a theme throughout, which I think is a neat thing, you know. And if we have the largest sunflower in town and that brings people, great. Maybe we don't. I don't know. But I love hearing about her, because she didn't come to us and say, hey, I'm going to give you this land and money. It showed up in a manila envelope. I go, oh my gosh, you know. So, you know, it's really great to hear from the family and about her.
Yeah, she left very little directions at all. So we're going to try to make it somewhat reflect the community and environment out there.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Parker? Okay, so I don't know that I can do this. Brian, can I have a recess in the meeting? Can we recess the meeting? So people can look and look at these? Okay, so I would, I would like to make a motion that we put our meeting in recess at 8:23. Can I get a second? Second. All right, we're gonna take 10 minutes.
10
Residents, if you guys wanna come up, take a look, ask some questions, we'll be around.
And then the contractors are here, talk to them individually.
And ask them questions and tell us whatever you'd like to share. Thank you. Thank you all for being here, by the way.
I'm right here. And there's.
This is like. This is so nice.
I never saw that. He said he never seen that.
I have right away with tennis, you know, years ago. All you
It's supposed to be over there. I'm sorry.
I know it's part of us. I'm saying, either this property, I'm pretty sure this property. Over here, I have.
And then it's just
Just handle the water that comes
It's unbelievable. Touch you on that side. Where's it touching? Okay, great. I want to go curious.
And this is when I cleaned up and bugs out, I actually clean it out. There's two dug wells. When I cleaned out the one next to the house, I was down there and I'm stepping like this. The water hit me like this. Like underneath that valve. It's coming through. I pulled out a piece of clay and literally I was stepping like this because we say the things well so fast that it was swallowed.
Kevin, you have a house on this property, right? How close is it to that line?
Yeah.
You don't mind me asking, how big is that piece? Where's the 23? You have access from, your access from Broadway? You access, yeah, you've got frontage?
I don't know how wide it is.
Yeah.
But I got that, I shared the common driveway.
Yes.
And his 12-inch tile.
It goes through you?
It goes through me.
Yeah.
It comes through.
Because aren't there two ponds on this property? There are two ponds on this property. On the other side. Yeah. Because when we were walking the property, we talked to the owner of this one for a little while. Very nice. He has the two ponds, and he's got it all mowed, and we talked about the wetland and the runoff. What you're saying is there's a lot of water. There's a lot of water. So in Europe, yeah, really, yeah. So would it be in your opinion that a pond would make sense? And dam it up on this side. Oh, run it this way. It's actually running. Yeah.
And then up here in the front, there's another one.
Took it all off. He took the building with the you know this property. Maybe an easement or something. That would be great.
I would say,
If we were able to get an easement, we said we'll maintain it, we're all gonna take up the street. We've looked up all the property, I can't remember what they all are. There's a house, an Eastwood's house over there.
Yeah, I live right I like the outdoor guys organized it and you know, people get towards it. I was just on the phone with them. I said, I'm going to the meeting now. Yeah, so.
Okay, everyone, in 2 minutes, we're gonna come back. But everybody, when we come back in session, we're gonna ask you the opinions you have on both these contracts.
Yeah, we have to take these.
If you have any more questions, ask the contractors.
All right. All right, folks, thank you so much for taking time to chat. I hope we had some questions answered. You have a chance to take a look at the maps. I think it's important to be able to stand at the map and take a peek. Trustee Varian moves to come back into session at 8:33.
Trustee Griffin seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are you back on, Brian?
Yeah, we're back on, sir.
Now you're back.
Back on. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so our next step to this process, and I do want to reiterate what Ms. Griffith said. We are a small community. We are very excited about this project. We understand that the project has neighbors. We understand that the contractors that are here in front of us are our friends and we've worked with them. So it's a little bit tough for us because we are a small community. And a lot of times, we know each other, and that's a good thing. I'm glad I live in Osnaburg Township and I have a relationship with all of you in some way or the other. But our job as the three trustees is to move forward. We have $150,000 in a grant. We've got to get moving, and so our job is to make a choice and to pick a contractor and move forward. So this would be just for the bid one. We are going to vote on this July 14th, but we would like to hear from the public. If you do not want to publicly give us your opinion, you can call us, email us. Everything's public, so you can get on to Osnaburg Township. You can send us all an email, a phone call, catch us later. But if anyone wants to publicly give us their opinion right now, we'd appreciate that. If not, that's completely fine. Does the public have a comment on what direction they'd like to go? Yes.
I think that the Enviroscapes is really pretty and would look beautiful, but I really like the concept of, is it Parker? I think, I have 2 young kids that they're athletic, they like to run, they like to be outdoors, and I think nature itself is pretty enough. Sometimes you don't need all the fluff of the, flowers and that, so.
I appreciate your opinion. Thank you. Mr. Miller.
My comment is the crushed concrete is key to this.
Okay.
having longevity, because I've worked with crushed concrete and it is a fantastic item. And you can, if it grows up in weeds, you can still mow crushed concrete, but you can use weed killer on it and not have to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Anybody else?
Mr. Lowry, can you explain, whenever something goes to bid, where all does it go? Like if we put something out for bid on this part, where all would it be advertised?
We put it on our website under public, and then we've been putting it on the Alliance Review site. I know that we don't put it in a repository. We just have never used a repository because we wanted to stay in our immediate area. But the public on the website has really grown since 2020. I mean, we're in the thousands of people hitting that. And even when we did the paper, it's still in the 800, 900 supposedly people getting that there. So those are the two areas where we bid out and put our information out. And if someone calls, whether a bidder or anything, I hit a button and I send them everything they want. Everything that's been documented. Residents will do that occasionally. Hey, Brian, I was listening to a meeting. Can you shoot that picture over to me? Whether I take it with a camera or do something to get it to you so you have a copy of it.
And just for point of reference, anything that we do that's over 75,000
Yes.
has to be bid.
And you don't know if it's 75, but if it's close, you just put it
You have
out
to
there.
put it for bid.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, anything else for the good of the order as far as Succo's Park is concerned?
I have one last question.
Yeah.
So both parties that have submitted their bids, when you guys vote on July 14th, are you going to go one way or the other, or are you going to do a hybrid? Like I see strengths and weaknesses in both.
We're gonna be voting on phase one only.
Okay, so like, let's say for instance that Enviroscapes was really strong on their signage, and I saw on their bid, they broke that out on their estimate. But perhaps maybe the second contractor wasn't, but you know, perhaps his philosophy is better. Are you able to do a hybrid where you say we're gonna award signage to Enviroscapes, but we're gonna award, or does it have to go completely one way or the other for phase one?
It's a good question. Do you guys know the answer to that? I do not know the answer to that.
They weren't prepared that way. I don't know.
Yeah, the bid packet went out for like one contractor signed that phase one. What was in phase one?
I know normal bids are awarded,
Yeah, it's
one or the other. If there's something trustees would want, they can ask for modifications of either one, but they should give both of them that opportunity.
And I also want to take a minute to explain too that phase 2, 3, possibly 4, it has to be then rebid again. So, and I will thank Enviroscapes and Parker. You guys weren't given a ton of direction because we didn't have a ton of direction to give. So this was not easy to bid. I would say in phase 2, if we have Ben Parker and committee talking about what we want to see, and we're talking in community, the phase 2 may be a lot easier to bid only because it may have a lot more definition. Phase 1 didn't have a lot of definition, and we apologize for that. But we're not park builders. This is new to all of us.
And I don't think even whoever receives the bid to sign it could still be changed to detail on it. And,
Right, we, in the bid packet, we reserve the right to make the sign look the way we want it to look.
Well, and I think even with some of your comments about the family and their passions and loves, I think maybe the sign happens later and the latter half of phase 1. I'd be fine seeing a parking lot and more parking paths, and then as we have buy-in, and maybe even from the family, to say, hey, this was your family member. Like, let's have you look at some designs. I don't want to pick the design of the park. I'd like someone else with some buy-in. And so maybe we even do that sign a little bit later on, just to make sure that we're doing it right.
Well, Randy said maybe incorporate some type of statue or something of her, maybe in part of the sign. So.
read it somewhere. I just think something
Or somewhere.
like Walt Disney World or something. You see Walt Disney on a sign. I think you could do something with her classy, the animals or cat or whatever.
And we even,
We have to get more information about it, but, you come in and that's there.
and I believe, if I'm right, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sukos did he have some heavy machinery? Did he have dump truck,
Her
bulldozer?
brother-in-law,
Okay,
or, no,
You know,
her
and-
uncle.
at the very early side of this, we're like, well, if we're building play equipment, are we building bulldozers and dump trucks? As far as the play things, so we kind of,
I
Had
will say,
conversation about
the
that.
sign requirement was part of the Huntington Bank that we put that temporary sign up because we had to do something. And so they want the sign in phase 1 to go in. They want the sign there.
No, I think it's important. It's
Yeah.
branding the,
Right.
the
So-
entire phase. I'm not saying it's not important. I just see, I see
Yeah.
strengths and weaknesses
Yeah,
in the contractor.
Well, and again, make your comments on the sign, tell us, because we reserve the right to, and I didn't look that close at either sign because we're gonna take a sign and make it what we want it to be.
What's the timeline for phase 1 from start to finish? I mean,
We were
how much
hoping
time
to
are you
have it
allotting?
finished by December 31st and get all that money, documents to the state and get it closed out. And then be ready with that committee, hopefully when spring hits, that we're ready to move into phase 2, and which will require some fundraising, which Ben and that committee is going to be trying to do that too. I mean, there's a lot of unique ideas as far as people can name a park bench, put their name on it or whatever, because you're going to need some benches around that running trail too.
Just Broadway is such a busy road. Is there any plans to maybe put even like a stop sign maybe there or anything to kind of slow traffic down at that
so
entrance?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
So our hands are tied in a lot of things, and traffic patterns are something that it's a county
bad
thing,
on that
yeah.
road. There's a hill.
Well, the county did approve where we're putting the road in, the driveway.
Yeah, they approved where the driveway exits the road. But a lot of and a lot of people don't realize this, and this is something I realized as a trustee. I didn't know this until I became a trustee. If it's lined, it's not a responsibility. So any road you drive on in the township, if there's lines on it, it's a state or a county road.
Yeah.
If it's not lined, is that fair, Stu? Close to that? If it's not lined, it's one of our roads.
Yeah.
So as far as traffic patterns go, it's a great question. We would have to lobby the county to get speed limits reduced, to get stop signs in, things like that.
One thing we
Great question,
could do is maybe request signs from the county that says slow park entrance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We can definitely,
Yeah.
that's not a,
They'll probably let us do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we need to wrap this up. Thank you so much for your time. If you are interested in getting involved in this committee with Ben, you can contact me directly. I'll give you Ben's information. I don't want to just hand it out in a public forum. I'm going to ask him if I could do that. So I'm not going to start giving out his cell phone, and we're not going to call you
Talk to
on
him
this.
tonight
You can
before
talk
you
to him,
leave.
yes. But if you'd like to get involved, we really would like some community buy-in because we're excited about it and we wanted to hear what you have to say. So
send an email or something to us to let us know. Again, because we don't want to be the ones choosing a contractor. We want the public to tell us what they want.
So we're going to wrap up the Succo's Park conversations. This is always a public meeting, so anyone can stay and hear about all the other stuff that's going on in the township, but you are all free to go if you don't want to hear about the other boring stuff. Completely up to you. But thank you for your time being here tonight. Thank you for both presentations, for coming, preparing.
And also, everything you see, if you got YouTube, you can go back,
recorded.
it's all recorded, you can play back.
And you're welcome to take pictures of these maps if you haven't done that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kayla. See you, girl. I will.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys very much. Really appreciate your time being here. Okay, anything else for public speaks before we move on? All right, seeing none, we're gonna keep moving. Fire report.
Wanted to talk about the mower again.
Mhm.
They reached out to me, Metzger's, last week, in between meetings, just said, are we gonna make a decision? And I emailed the guy back and I just said, I think we're weighing all our options at this time, so.
Okay. Did we have a response from Mr. Beck?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I was just gonna share.
Great. So for the,
That was other thing.
so for the public's knowledge, the fire station grass is currently managed by the fire station, by the firefighters and paramedics. Let me write this down real quick. And so we have a brush, oh, that's all right, that's per time, I assume.
Yeah,
Okay. And so we have a mower that's, we go through mowers pretty quick up there. We haven't really bought a commercial mower over the past years. It's been a light duty mower, and it gets, worn out quickly. So right now there's a zero turn Skag up there that's on, kind of on loan from the, it's a township mower. But it's up there, they're using it. So we're looking at purchasing a new mower, what that will cost in the commercial world. We also asked Mr. Beck, who mows this property and our cemeteries, what it would cost to mow. His price came in at $167.50 per time. Brian, how often are the cemeteries getting mowed per year? Just
Right now, we're going through 13 to 16 times, depending
Okay.
on weather. But I budget 16. Cemetery is a little bit different because we don't have the money, we back off.
So
It's
is
the fire
16 a
fund
good,
budget.
is 16 a good
16 would be a good number.
Good number, all right. So $2,600 a year, $2,680 at 16. And then remind me again, Tyler, just quickly off the top of your head, what were the mowers coming in at?
The lowest bid, this is state bid pricing at Ace Hardware was $12,072.66.
And just for all the public's knowledge too, I think it's important to know, Ace, our little Ace here in Louisville actually beat the bid, not knowing. So it's kind of cool that our little local hardware was actually able to get the best price on that specific mower and model. Kind of neat.
And
So 12.
MSRP on that, just so the public knows, is $17,000.
Yeah, it's a commercial zero turn with steering wheel. So it's not levers, it's steering wheel.
What was the price of it? 12,000?
$12,072.66. I have on the
Okay. 2680. So do we want to continue to have conversation, trustees, about this right now? Or do we want to table and keep moving?
I think, at least my opinion is, we just, for this year, because we're coming off of some really tight funding, that we go ahead and just pay Jim Beck to mow it for this year and look at where we're at the end of the year. For next year.
They are mowing it with their lawn.
Yeah, this Skag mower,
We can,
Well, I thought they didn't want to mow it anymore.
well, it's just not, we gotta do something there eventually. We have to replace it. They wanna mow it.
We have no problem mowing the grass.
Yeah.
That's not the
It's
case
just
at all.
that mower is not the adequate mower for the property. It'll get them by, but we gotta do something eventually.
Because we're gonna have maintenance on that mower. So when I run the 12,000,
We had the PM, Tyler did a great job getting us the PM on that too.
So the Tim's Mower Shop in town, we've been using him for no more than $350 a year. Every March, he will come up, he will pick up that mower, he will trailer it back to his shop, he will sharpen the blades, change all the air filters. The only thing we would pay extra for on that service is if there is a damaged blade or a belt or something that needs to be replaced.
A worn out part, yep,
So
not a service
it would
part.
cost us an additional approximately $350.
Okay.
Is the township all on the same schedule as the cemeteries, or does he mow more up here?
He mows more at this site than he does the cemeteries.
yes,
That's what I
cemetery's
think.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but
But this year has been very tight. And I told him to keep us caught up here. But
how many times do you think he mows here a year?
in a year's time, he does about 14, 15 times here. Here. The cemeteries, he was doing 12 to 13 times like last year. And it depends, if you have a real dry August, September, he might hold off and wait till October to do the last mow if it's not growing,
All right, I think for the sake of time this evening, so we don't get too late, let's table this. We now know that it's $167.50 per mow. We also have all the numbers on the mower. Thank you, Tyler, for getting all that to us. I think we have conversation soon, only because the Skag is getting us by. It's a Band-Aid, but it is getting us by. And I think we come back to it. That's okay. So let's move on to the next one.
254 was taking the All-American Fire Equipment. They did do repackaging of the pump, so they
Great.
said they had a little bit of problems, but it is no longer leaking.
Oh, good.
He also said that in the off chance that it does, after it's been used heavily, sometimes the packing will shift, that he'd be willing to come out and just adjust that. There's little bolts underneath there that you have to like quarter.
Okay.
So just repacking it solved it then?
Yeah, it was repackaging. It had-
Did they give you a bill on that?
They did not.
Did he stay in that, I think the purchase order was $700. I haven't received anything. I didn't
He
know.
didn't send me anything, so he said he worked on it for
Okay.
a couple hours.
We'll wait for the bill. That's good news that it's not leaking.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
Thanks for keeping up on that.
we ran 27 calls since the last meeting, 20 ALS, 3 BLS, 3 fire, mutual aid, 1 to Quad, and 1 from New Michelle Township.
Okay, great.
So I have a question for you on that report. It was number 336, 337. So you go out because you're called somewhere and then they refuse your service,
Okay.
correct? And then 2 hours later, you get called out again to the same place.
Okay.
So is that a normal? I mean, do you turn in both those calls or you don't, or?
So every call that any vehicle moves on in the state of Ohio has to be recorded with a NIFRS report at least. So everything is always recorded. So if that's a double call, you're still recording it because now it's a new run number. So, yeah, does that answer your question?
No, my question is, are we billing them twice then, since we're called twice to the same spot?
If it's a resident.
It's in the township, we're
It's a
not.
If it's in the township, we don't bill.
We're not
Like that
billing.
we bill their insurance, though, don't we?
It's called soft billing. We don't bill, any.
No, not in the
You're doing
township.
the soft billing on the
Yeah.
bill?
Yes.
Yep, soft bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the 2 columns, that's a timeline, right?
Yeah.
So how close are the calls? I'm just curious, because it's like, what's a 0047?
I don't have that on my sheet, what you guys are looking at. I just have.
They have that run report
The
that's
run
on the
report.
backside.
Okay.
Here, let me give you this.
Yeah.
I know, Tyler, when you get that
Well, I
one
figured
copy,
the
that's
20,
the chief and everything sent out.
Yeah.
I guess if I go out, I guess if this was.
All right, I'm sorry, you're talking about 336?
Yeah, 336, 337.
So that must be 11:47 to 1:47 a.m.
So this more than likely was, they went out, there was a refusal, and then something changed in that patient, and they got called back.
How
And
much
they did-
time difference is that? That's what we're trying to figure out.
I couldn't tell you exactly looking at this sheet. From recollection, it was like later on that evening. It was like that call came in at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then like 9 o'clock that night, they got called back.
On his run report, he can see number. We don't see the times, but his report will show in his
So,
system.
Yeah, that's what we get to
So
the
the
office.
2111 is not like an actual time. 2111.
2153.
You had 2111 to 2153, and then it was 23.
Yeah, what's those numbers there on the report then?
Yeah, that could be actually accurate. I don't, like I said, I have not looked at this.
This would be like 11:47, 1:47 a.m. Or
Yeah, I don't know, it could be.
12:47 midnight.
All right, so
Okay.
the first call came in for that call at 2111. The second call came in at 2348, so that was almost midnight. So 3 hours later, they called back and they
There
wanted
you
to go to
go.
the hospital.
There you go.
I apologize.
No, that's good. I was curious. It's good to know. All right, great. Mutual aid, 1 to Quad and 1 from NIM. We had 1 mutual aid since last meeting.
Yes.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. Anything else for fire? Oh, we have something for fire. Approved to pay $1456.30 to ESO Solutions. Trustee Varian moves to pay $1,400.56. I'm sorry, $1,456.30 to ESO Solutions for software update.
Trustee Griffith, seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, thank you. Cemetery report.
Trustees, what I have to report that Ryan has reported to me, I did receive $400 today. He has to log it in. A resident purchased a lot at Mapleton. So that has not really reflected on your treasurer's report because I just received it in the mail today. The other thing I want to update you on is Mr. Beck had just got done catching up with the last mow here, so he's back on track right now. When you approved that, where we were able to do that transfer of money from the general fund in there to get the mowing back on track a little bit here. Not to say it solved it all, but that brings up the oil and gas lease. I got the signed documents that I signed. I got that back, and I just wanted to let you know I have it in our possession. This is where the estimated amount, according to the lease, that the township would receive for the cemetery property. This site here, the 10 acres here, and the fire station will be at $86,556. That money will come to us in increments, but the first wave, I believe, and I don't have it right in front of me, the first wave could be like 15,000 we could have pretty quick, 15,306.50. The second wave is between 60 to 120 days. So I would like to think that maybe we'll get that before the end of the year, which then I can get it certified, and then I'll let you trustees tell me where you want to put it. It's going to go to the general fund first, but then if you want to say we want so much to cemetery, all of the cemetery, that's going to be your call when that money comes in.
Okay. The signatures are all done on that. We don't need to sign anything for that.
You don't have to sign anything. I just wanted to let you know we have the documents, all the signed documents, and we are on part.
And we're not ready to pay back the general, correct?
No,
There's not
no,
enough in there.
No, there's only, if you look at your treasurer's report,
Yeah,
she has very.
Okay. All right. Anything else for cemetery?
No, I don't have anything else.
All right. Road report.
Good evening, everybody. Trustees have read over the road report for June 23rd. Is there any?
I don't have a road report.
Stu, can I take yours and copy it real quick? I don't think we got one.
Yeah.
I think there's more out here.
Oh, if they're out on the table. that's
Yeah.
Great.
She's,
Thank you, Mary.
thank you. Does them, doesn't it?
Okay.
I will let you guys know that we did go up after a 10th load of emulsion this morning to Russell Standard. When we went out to start to use it, we're gonna see what happens. It's very runny.
Is the heater back in operation?
What?
The
No, it's heating fine.
machine's functioning.
It's heating fine.
All right.
You wasn't sure last time.
I know.
Yeah.
But this load, when me and
She's soupy.
Rodney went out, it's really runny, and it's not helping any that I'm back at the back of the bin right now.
Okay.
And the stone's kind of wet too.
Okay.
That doesn't help any along with that being runny.
Yeah.
Trying to stick.
Yeah.
It's not flowing nice, and
How does that
we're
work?
having to use rakes to level out.
Do you just have to use whatever you get, or can you take it back and put it back in the
Well,
machine?
we've had bad loads before where it wouldn't even come out the nozzle, and we had to take it back up there and they sucked.
Will they pump it back out?
They pumped it back out and
Okay.
gave us a brand new load.
They've always been good about that.
Pretty much. They try to argue, and say I cooked it, and how do I cook it? And I just brought it and took it home and
Yeah.
didn't have a chance.
So do you guys want to try to run it this week and then tell us?
Well,
Okay.
we went out today and started using it, found out we're having a little problem with it. So we went to Osnaburg Street.
Oh, that poor road. Dumped a bunch.
Lots of nice big craters.
Yeah. Yeah, not craters or
And if
caverns.
if it doesn't hold, we're out 600, $800, maybe $1,000.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
hoping it doesn't. When we even, we touched it and felt it feels tacky, but it's a very runny tack,
Okay.
I don't know what's going on. He said, what was it, Rodney? They only had about
They said there was only 5 feet left.
5 feet left in the big
Oh,
side.
you got the bottom, yeah.
At the bottom, who knows? You never know about this.
All right, well, let us
They
know.
make those batches up.
let us know on that.
So are we caught up on mowing?
We're still mowing now. Bernie and Mike, I think pretty much got all the north end done, 3 passes back.
Yeah, they've done a nice job.
And now they're getting ready to start down south here again.
Okay.
Mike will be here, I think, tomorrow and Wednesday.
Mike
He's
working?
been trying to come 2 days a week.
Great.
Depending on, how things are.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
everything's been running good
All
and
right.
we haven't had any major breakdowns.
Do you need to spend any money?
No.
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 Oh, we better move on. Sue doesn't spend any money. What, Mr. Pirro, would you like to talk about the approval for preparation for the Joint Parks Road bid? Do we need to do anything, conversation on that?
We have to do an approval.
Okay.
I would like to put on record that the county engineer's office is supposed to make this up. We got it back from them. They've done a horrible job. It needs to be on record. Mr. Lowry's fixed a lot of errors. They got dates wrong, which is it's a sad for what the county's done on it. But we have to make a motion and it's gonna go up for bid.
Okay, so our
What's the
fiscal,
dollar amount on it?
so our fiscal officer, Mr. Lowry, has fixed up our bid pack to make sure that it's right.
Just to be straight with you, trustees, the bid advertisement is ready and prepared. That's what you're approving. I do not have the bid pack totally done yet.
Would you like us to approve it?
Yes.
Okay.
Trustee Pro moves to approve for the bid pack to go out for Joint Parks Road project between 3 townships.
Trustee Varian, second. All those in favor?
There's what you're looking at, how it
Aye.
is. This will be hit the paper this Friday and then it'll go on the website as soon as I complete it within the next
What's the name of the
24 hours.
Nimishon, Paris, and Osnaburg.
Okay.
Okay. All right, did you get that motion?
Yes.
All right, Randy, Mr. Varian, second, and all those in favor?
Yep.
Aye. Okay. All right, so we've got that handled. Anything else for road?
No.
No, great. All right, moving along to zoning.
Okay, since last meeting, had one permit issued, which I turned the money in for today. They're taking a deck and making it a living space, so it's an addition on the house.
Okay.
On the nuisance side of things, over there on Neiman's, where, had the stuff hauled in.
Yes,
I
yes.
spoke to the health department. They were actually out there beginning of the month to check the septic, because it's been a year since it was installed.
Oh,
They had a little bit of trouble, and they also saw some of the stuff back there.
okay.
So they didn't actually get the inspection done, but they're gonna go back and maybe get us some more information, kind of how it looks and maybe some pictures and everything.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad we're going in the right direction on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not listed on here, but on Lisbon next to the C&D property, there's those 2 houses, one in the back, one in the front. The one in the back is dumping stuff into the waterway and causing backup. So I also spoke to the health department about that, and they're
Okay.
gonna help us look into that as well.
And girl, you're busy on here.
Over there on Georgetown, I didn't go out and see the property today, where the grass
Is this Georgetown the 12th?
Yeah.
The peak. I had another resident call on that one just this week. I said we were working on it.
I don't expect that it's been mowed. It hasn't been mowed so far. I did receive one letter back that went directly to the property. It was marked vacant. The other letter has not been returned, but I haven't received the signed paper back yet either.
Okay.
So the next step on that would be having it posted and mowed, and I would send out another letter giving them one last chance to do
Okay.
that before it be mowed.
And
Is there a building on that, or is it just the vacant lot?
There's a house on it.
Yeah, there's a house.
It's kind of completely surrounded by brush and
Oh,
whatever else.
yes.
It looks like it'd be hard to get into the house.
This is the house that has a car sitting on it, that a tree grew up through the middle of the car.
Yes.
And we can't do anything with it,
Mhm.
because if we do, they'll sue us for taking the tree down and getting the car out.
Nobody's gonna steal it.
Okay.
Okay.
So just to be clear, on Georgetown, we're one more letter away from having it mowed and putting it on their county taxes?
Mhm.
Okay. Do we typically have Mr. Beck do that?
Yes.
In
Okay,
the past, yeah.
all right. I think we keep moving on that. The resident on 12th Street said it is treacherous to pull out from 12th onto Georgetown because they live on 12th and go that way. They said the grass is so high you cannot see.
We actually could at this point get an estimate from Beck, so we know, because we'll have to pay him
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
wait for years to get our money back.
Yeah, he was worried about the pulling out there on that. It's a bad intersection anyway, but you can't.
And the way the grass and everything's been growing this year, it's way worse than it was last year.
Yeah, okay.
The property on Clover Ridge, I know I talked to them before the last meeting, they were supposed to have somebody mow it, I haven't seen it mowed yet. I know in the past they kind of had trouble with getting people to mow it, so I'm gonna try and reach out to them and just check with them again. And then Indian Run, I do not have an update yet, I'm still working on getting some prices regarding that.
I got a letter today that was the trustees, I just opened it, it looks like a duplicate of that, where they signed off saying that they deemed it uninhabitable.
Okay.
It's just the same letter, I didn't know if that was anything.
Okay. Was it from the?
Yeah, it's from the
Health
county.
Department or county?
The county,
Okay.
Stark County Health Department, it's identical to what was already submitted to us.
Okay.
I just thought they sent us a hard copy out of it.
Okay.
So,
I sent it over email to them, so they might have checked it out. I know the gentleman at the health department that usually works with us was away on vacation last week. So I was talking to somebody that's kind of new to that side of the health department.
Did we already agree not to look into burning it down as a education? Is that too hard, Tyler?
Yeah.
It's a lot of, it's
The
EPA.
EPA has a ton of regulations on live burns, everything's gotta be removed, the roof,
Okay, it's a lot. And for a house this small,
yeah.
it's almost not worth it. I just wanted to double check before we're,
I've only seen it done one time, it was like hay and a brick house.
okay.
It's a
But
legit-
Mary, you're looking for estimates on
Yeah,
what's gonna cost to tear it.
Yeah, we're looking.
So we can look at that once we get it.
Okay.
Other than that, coming up, I have a variance scheduled. Somebody wants to put a manufactured home on their property and tear down their existing home.
Okay.
And under our rules, a manufactured home is not a dwelling, so it wouldn't count as like a single family house. And manufactured homes themselves go under different codes than like your typical house would.
So they'll get a letter for this BZA hearing, correct? All the neighbors will get a letter so that they know and can comment or come in and protest or whatever they want.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
Or agree with it.
Mhm. The only other note is, over on Water Street, I had a property owner reach out about putting a house on a vacant parcel, and there's a tower that sits next to it. So when a tower is built, there's a 300-foot setback requirement. And I know in the past there was concerns regarding that, especially if the tower would fall over on a house or something.
Yeah.
I did reach out to the prosecutor's office on it,
Is the tower still active?
Yes.
Okay.
and the prosecutor's office said that would not apply. That 300-foot setback would not apply. That would apply if it's the tower itself being built. So,
Oh, I see. If you were building a new tower next to a house, you need 300 feet. If you're building a house like the tower, the setback does not apply.
mhm.
Okay.
For the tower, but setbacks apply for
For the
our
typical zoning book.
residential
Yeah.
zone.
Right.
But that does allow them to build then?
Yeah, prosecutor's office said it would be buildable
Did you
as
say-
long as it meets all requirements.
What road did you say?
Walters off Broadway.
Oh,
Yeah.
Walters. Yeah, I know where you are.
And you looked in it, they'll have the setbacks requirements met for us.
As far as I can see, as long as it's not too close to one side or anything where they plan to put the house.
If I remember, that
Yeah,
lot is
that's a
not,
problem.
that lot is not big.
No.
You think they'll get septic approval?
I'm not sure.
And
They
it-
do have 2 vacant parcels there,
Okay.
and
They have
that,
to put them together.
yeah, it's
All
all up to the
All right.
county.
Yeah. Also, remember, that's the street where all the residents come in to complain they were having
Yes.
water issues.
Yes.
They run out of water,
That,
so.
the well bed is not good there. on that
Yeah,
road.
so
Yeah.
we need to make sure the health department knows that, to make sure, because that's gonna be one more house.
One more house
pulling
pulling
from
on
us.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sent a message over to the health department, just kind of seeing what they
Okay.
required on that.
Thank you.
All right, all done? Thank you very much. All right, moving along to old business. Trustee work session for Succo's Park. I think we probably talked about that
Yeah,
tonight. We're gonna move.
all I wanted to do is make sure that we make notes so I can put it in the minutes, because that was done in between our meetings. That
Okay,
I advertised and put that out there.
all right. You don't need any?
We did have a meeting on June 18th
Yes.
to accept the bid packets that came in.
And then oil and gas lease signed. We talked about
That's what
that.
we talked about.
Great. Brian, to update new phones and internet system.
Yeah, the new phones are in operation. I haven't quite got, I've asked Mary to give me a hand on some tweaking with this. But right now, when anyone calls the township, they have an opportunity after the initial introduction to press like extension 102. I'm getting that changed over, that it'll be like extension 1, extension 2. But when you hit 102, you can leave it in the general mailbox, or if you hit 103, it goes right to zoning. My goal is that it goes right to whoever it needs to go to. Whether they want their personal phone number, they don't have to have it there, but I can make it go to a personal phone number. I can make it go to an email, and you can click on your email when you get a call and just click and listen to it. So I'm in the process of that. It was a lot longer process than what I thought it should have been, and I did speak my mind to the Spectrum sales rep, who I know he did the sales pitch, but I had to deal with all the IT people there. It was kind of, Phil, our IT guy, helped me a lot, but it is up. We are on the new internet system. It's going to be just a matter of now. I officially had to wait 15 days, and then I'll shut down officially the old equipment, turn the old equipment in, then we'll be on the new equipment.
Okay.
So.
Thanks for doing all that.
Thank you.
Approval to continue the zoning computer with Phil Schwab. We need a motion for that.
Yes, this is the time where we already did the office computers, my computers. Now we're ready to do the zoning. And that's when we're going to convert over one of the old computers to the road department. I'd like to complete that, but I want to get the motion going. We already have the money set aside just to get
Did
it.
we already
going.
move on the money?
Yeah, yes, we're okay on the money because I had that already in there.
All right, so do you want the motion to not have a dollar amount in it?
They don't have to, just give me the permission
All right.
to go ahead and pursue, because I was trying to do it in
Yeah,
stages.
Trustee Varian moves to continue working with Phil Schwab to get our zoning computer up and running, and also the road department computer.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. Update old record retention 2020,
Yeah,
2020.
as you notice, our residents are sitting in chairs all the way to the back.
Yeah, that's nice.
You don't see all the boxes, all the pallets of stuff we've been in there for about 2 years. When I did initially, through the retention policy, I'm following it, keeping all historic value, all this stuff. You know, we started that a couple years back, the main stuff. We had over 5 pallets when we started. We had the whole room out there and our storage was full. You couldn't even walk in there. Right now, after we got everything done, to the point that from 2020 and back has been gone through up to the retention policy. But the room out there in the road department that we have there, the storage area, we have, I think, almost 3 empty shelves. So we could probably retain 10 to 15 years, depending on, without having to get piled up like that, as long as I keep it up.
Great.
Mary helped me, Sue Piro helped me, and we continually just kept working on it every chance we had. The last tote for you shredded is sitting at the back, and when that's done, then we shouldn't have to do that maybe every couple of years or something, if that. So,
Great. Thanks for working on that. I know it's been a long process. In old business, we need to talk about Otarma. We added that to our agenda.
Yes, we need, yeah.
You need a motion for that?
Yes, that, your Tarma, I know when I passed through the initial checks and our fees, last year it was around $22,000.
Okay.
With our new equipment and the way the trustees had said, naturally you wanted these things covered to the full amount because we have a new road truck and we have a new
New
ambulance.
ambulance, yeah.
So those trucks, you see, it is increased by a few $1,000s, but it's that $24,000 there.
So it added $2,000
Yeah.
for two new trucks.
Yeah.
I feel like that's fair.
Let me see if I can get you the number. I thought I had it written down. I did. Apologize. I got it here. I just wanted to get a resolution.
Yeah,
It,
just so the public's all aware, what we spent for the ambulance, 260?
268,000.
268 for a new ambulance?
Some of it was grant money.
And what was the road truck?
And it was capital money and grant money. And the road truck.
Capital and grant.
And the capital and the grant for the road truck was 196,000.
If you're buying a road truck or an ambulance, have deep pockets.
And then here's your Tarma.
You ready? Okay. All right. Trustee Varian moves to pay Otarma Service Center $24,328.
Trustee Griffith seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion
Thank you.
carries. All right, moving right along. Stark County School COG meeting
Yeah.
on 7/18.
Just as a reminder, I know I sent that all out to you all. I'm past the deadline. I know Trustee Griffith asked if I could go. I am off on the 19th, but I wanted to get formal that nobody else wanted to go to that. That's where you talk about healthcare, all the things that
You said you are off on the 18th. You can go.
I can go.
Okay.
that day.
All right. I don't think I can go on the 18th. I'm at work.
But you can bring more than one person, but I didn't know if any of you wanted to go.
Do we need to make a motion to cover the cost? Is there a cost?
No,
No?
cost.
All right.
Just I gotta get it in there.
Okay.
I just know sometimes Brenda or Randy.
Yeah,
or
when I was up there, I would go for us.
Yeah,
and
when
do
she
it,
was
but-
up there, she would go, but it's like, we need to make sure we go to that.
I'm gonna give you that back. That's a time. How about an air conditioning service from Zorn? Do we need to approve a number there?
Usually I ask because every year we have Zorn come in, does our filters, looks over our system here at the township, because they're the ones that during COVID, when we got the grant money there for that project, he comes in and services $300-400 depending on how many filters and all.
Okay.
Checks the UV protection. all
You want
that
a dollar
stuff.
amount on that, or?
You don't really have to. I
Okay.
can come back with the dollar
fine.
amount. It's usually 3 or 4.
Trustee Varian moves to have Zorn Heating and Cooling come maintenance the air conditioning unit at the township garage. Do you also want that done at the fire station?
I know that's separate, but it
Okay.
can be done because
We'll-
we have done it, but
we'll
we
do-
waited until there was a problem to call. I think that
So
would be.
let's make the motion for the township garage. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? And I'm gonna make a motion for the fire department too. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right, Trustee Varian moves to hire Zorn Heating and Cooling to maintenance service the air conditioning at the fire station.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, I'm gonna call an executive session here in a second. Do we have anything else for the good of the meeting?
Just a motion to approve and pay bills.
Trustee Varian second, Piro second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our executive session, we will not have action. And Stu, can you hang for a minute? We're gonna meet and then we'll have you join us and I'll have Fiscal Officer Lowry and the 3 trustees begin the meeting. Trustee Varian moves to call an executive session at 9:18 for personal matters. This refers to the appointment, employment, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual.
Trustee Griffith seconds.
Roll call?
Piro. Griffith.
Yes.
And Barron.
Yes.
Thank everyone for
Thank
coming.
you for being here tonight.